So in this video, we're going to go over how to encrypt the operating system and the data disks within a virtual machine. Now, the files in an Azure storage account are by default encrypted using what's called secure storage encryption. But once you've basically able to see the VHD within a storage account, the VHD itself is not encrypted. So you can use what's called BitLocker in order to encrypt the virtual disk within Azure. Now, the cryptographic keys for this are going to be stored in Azure Key Vault. So the first thing you're going to need is what's called a Key Vault. If you go into the marketplace and you look up Key Vault, then you're going to see that Key Vault's a Microsoft product, and you're going to, if you don't have one, you're going to need to create one. Now, I happen to have a Key Vault, and so I'm going to use the one that I already have, but creating one should be pretty straightforward. Now, with a Key Vault, Key Vaults allow you to store secrets, and these secrets can be either keys, cryptographic keys in this case, secrets that are application secrets, or security certificates. In order to encrypt a virtual disk, we need to use keys. So I'm going to go into the keys section of my Key Vault. Keep in mind that in order to encrypt the Key Vault for a virtual machine, it has to exist in the same region as the virtual machine itself. So if you have a virtual machine in the West US region, then your Key Vault will also have to be in the West US region. So in this type of situation, the region is very important. Now I'm going to click the Generate Import for a key. Now I have to give this key a name. Now you can name it anything you want. I'm going to call it AZSJD Disk Encryption. Just to give myself a little clue as to say this key is going to be used for disk encryption. Now I'm going to keep the defaults here, so we're going to use RSA encryption algorithm and 2048 key bit size. I'm not going to set activation or expiration on that, and I'm going to create it in an enabled state. So let's just create the key first. Now, once that's been done, in order to encrypt a virtual machine, well, of course, you're going to need a virtual machine. Now, I don't have one currently running, but let's create a virtual machine, and I'm not going to go through that again because we just created videos around creating a virtual machine, but I'm going to go through this process of creating a virtual machine. Make sure that the machine is in the same region as your Key Vault, as an example. I'll go through this process, and at the end of this, I'm going to come back to the video. So let's come back to that. So I just went through the setup process for creating a virtual machine. You can see here that I've chosen the standard DS1 virtual machine. You can only do encryption on standard or above virtual machines. And I've got all my usual information. So I'm going to click Create. And by default, I'm going to create a virtual machine that, even though the storage account uses secure storage encryption, the virtual machine itself is not encrypted other than that. So this is an unencrypted virtual machine by default. So creating this virtual machine very fast now. It's less than 4 minutes to create a brand new virtual machine. Now, I'm not going to do anything with this virtual machine. We're just creating it, and we just want to encrypt the operating system disk. I can obviously go to it and see that it's running as a standard VM. Actually, if we go into the disk section of the virtual machine, we can see that we have an operating system disk, and it is not enabled. So the encryption of this disk is not yet enabled. Okay? So what we want to do is we want to enable disk encryption on this. Now, to do this, I'm going to use PowerShell. Some of you may know about the Azure Cloud Shell with this greater than sign and the underscore up here on the top. The Azure Cloud Shell allows you to run both command lines in Bash or PowerShell scripts in the PowerShell emulator. And this is all within the browser. So I'm going to pull this up a little bit, and it's starting up a brand new PowerShell session for me in my browser. Now, if this is your first time running Cloud Shell, you're going to have to go through a little setup process. Cloud Shell needs a storage account in which it stores its files. Like I can do an ls here, and I can see that I have a bunch of files in PowerShell here. And so there's a storage account associated with this, and if I was to delete it, I would have to recreate it. So I've already created a Cloud Shell account, so don't need to do that. Now, what we want to do is we want to run some PowerShell scripts to encrypt this disk. Now, I went to the Microsoft Docs website. docs.microsoft.com has a lot of great information. And one of the things it has is there's a script, go down here, for encrypting the virtual machine. So we've already gotten past the step of creating the key vault and creating the virtual machine itself using the portal. But I'm going to use a PowerShell to create the virtual machine. And we can see there's a sort of a standard script here. Now, I'm going to minimize that. Now, I've copied the script out to a text editor, and I modified it for my own values. So we're going to run through this script one line at a time here, and we're going to get this brand new virtual machine running with a BitLocker encrypted disk. Now, the first line of the script is to get the key vault. Remember, we have created or we have a key vault running within a region. And so we're just going to grab that and put that into a variable with the get Azure RM key vault. Next up, we need the URI for that. Now, every key vault has a universal resource identifier. And so this URI, like I can see, disk, wonder if I can tab, yes I can. I can basically call this as my key vault URL, right? So it's a.sjd keyvault.vault.azure.net. Now I also need the resource D. So Microsoft refers to resources using an ID system. And if we were to look at the resource ID, we can see that there's /subscriptions. This is my subscription ID, /resource groups. This is the resource group name, and this is the resource type, and that's the name of the key vault. And so lots of information embedded in this resource ID. Okay, we have that in a variable. Now we need the encryption key. So remember, we created an encryption key within our key vault. So we need to get key vault key, pass it our key vault information, and it'll return the key and the actual encryption key URL. So that's all the preamble stuff. Now we need to basically run the set, I'm going to paste this in here, set Azure RM VM Disk Encryption extension. We pass it the name of our virtual machine and the resource group. We pass it all the variables we've collected in terms of the key vault URL and then the key itself. Okay, the URL and ID for both. And if we run this, it's going to take, I'm going to hit enter, it's going to tell me this commandlet prepares the virtual machine, enables encryption, which may reboot the machine. So this is obviously needs to take the machine down in order to enable encryption on the disk, and takes 10 to 15 minutes to finish. So if you are using a production virtual machine, or this is an actively virtual machine being actively used, then you might want to stop that, pause that, etc. But in this case, the virtual machine just is sitting there. So when I click yes, that's going to go off and start to encrypt the operating system disk of the virtual machine. Again, that takes 10 to 15 minutes to run. So I'm going to let that run, and when we come back, fingers crossed, hopefully, our virtual machine is going to have encrypted operating system disks.